Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Health in Your Hands. I'm Dr. David Ajibade with the Brain and Body Foundation. I hope you're all staying safe and keeping good distancing and, doing all the things that you've been asked to do. Now, if there's anything that COVID-19 has taught us, it's taught us two things. One is that people with weak, dysfunctional immune systems are more likely to get it, and they're more likely to have a severe case of it, and are more likely to die from it. Number two, people with weak or dysfunctional cardiovascular systems, your blood vessels, your heart, those who have such a weak and dysfunctional cardiovascular system are also more likely to get it. As a matter of fact, some scientists are saying that COVID-19 is more a cardiovascular problem than it is a lung problem. It's a cardiovascular problem that becomes or manifests in the lungs. And of course, the pulmonologists, the lung doctors are saying that it's the other way around. I mean, anyway, regardless of what it is, the bottom line is that the cardiovascular system is important in COVID-19. That's why you hear about people with hypertension, people with diabetes having severe cases or more severe cases. And so it's important to really focus on cardiovascular system, ensure that if you have hypertension and you're on treatment, ensure that you're taking your pills. Diabetic, ensure you're taking your pills and make sure that your numbers are under control. That's really, really important. And I can't emphasize it enough. And if you remember our very, very first topic, our first episode was on the cardiovascular system. And I was talking about why we as Black people tend to have higher rates of cardiovascular disease and diabetes and obesity. And this is what subjects us a lot more to these conditions. So it is really, really, really with great honor and pleasure that I'm going to introduce our guest today, and he will say a few things about what he does as well, because he and I have worked together for many years now and helping people with cardiovascular disease and showing how to strengthen and help the cardiovascular system work better. So without much ado, I'm going to say hello, Dr. Harry, and welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Right. And so as we said before, we've worked together on quite a few cases, and you've been in the cardiovascular space now for like how long? Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing, especially now in this COVID-19 time?
Well, I have a certificate in nutritional counseling, a master's in herbology, and a doctorate in naturopathy. And for my dissertation, for my doctorate, I decided to do research on heart disease and why heart disease is the #1 killer all over the world, with the best drugs and the best, surgery techniques. We're still losing the war on heart disease. So I put together my dissertation, which then led to me writing a book called "Let's Stop the #1 Killer of Americans Today," but that pertains to everybody around the world, really. And then
heart disease is still the #1 killer in the world. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it is actually the #1 killer globally. So, so that led me to a pharmaceutical company that was releasing a new nutritional product to help reverse heart disease. I was hired to actually train doctors on the information. Unfortunately, it didn't go well because doctors like pharmaceutical, and because they get paid percentages on the drugs that they write scripts for. So I eventually went to other companies and did formulas for them. And then eventually in 2009, I launched my own company with my own cardiovascular product, and we're now selling it all over the world and changing lives, saving lives all over the world.
Wow, impressive. And of course, I think we started working with you around that same time too, 2009, or before then.
Yeah, actually, I think we ran across each other in a different company, Formore International, back in the day. And then when I left there, I started, working with other companies, and then my own company in 2009. So when you left Formore, you actually found me and have been with me since my grand opening in 2009. Yeah.
And I've been introducing your product to a lot of people, and I can say that the results have been fantastic. And yes, your product does taste a lot better than any of the other products any other cardiovascular products that we've used, including Formal. So let's talk about why. First of all, COVID-19. Let's talk about COVID-19. What has changed since you started working with COVID-19? What have you learned? What can you share with us?
Well, COVID-19 is it's a very political football that governments are passing around. But I will say this about it, that it's not as deadly as everyone thinks it is. I mean, basically 99% of the people that get it are fine after getting it. We do have medications to combat it. You people in Africa and some of the other third world countries are using hydroxychloroquine. Here in the United States, there was a bogus report on it, which eventually was proven to be bogus. But because of that bogus report, they would not allow doctors to prescribe it. Where in Africa, you guys can get plenty of it because malaria is prevalent there. So, so I think hydroxychloroquine, I have some here on my desk. I got my hands on some, and if I come down with flu-like symptoms, I'll start taking it. But we can beat this just by boosting our own immune system, our T cell count, our B cell count. There's certain ingredients that you can take to do that, and that fights any virus or bacteria. So I don't get the flu. I won't get COVID-19. If I do, I'll probably be one of the asymptomatic people, which means I'll have no symptoms. So I'm not concerned at all. But it is deadly for some people, and the people that it's deadly for are people that have things like high blood pressure, they have diabetes, their obesity, which 70% of Americans have obesity. And then, other things like that are cardiovascular. So if you already have those things, here in the United States, we are over 500,000 deaths. Of those deaths, I would say maybe 10% are from COVID. The rest of them are from heart attack, stroke, some sort of cardiovascular issue. People are dying from or with COVID, not from COVID. But the government sees it as everybody's dying of COVID. But that's not the case. It's not as deadly as really is being made out. Right now, we have no flu. This time of year, we usually have 30 to 40,000 cases of flu. We have zero because everybody has COVID. So it's a tricky subject, but there is hope.
But it can be argued that in a way, COVID-19 accelerates. How shall we put it now? If someone already has the comorbidities and is probably going to die in 5 years' time, in a way, COVID-19 shortens that length of life.
Right. What happens is this: people don't die from the flu; they die from pneumonia. People don't die from COVID; they die from blood clots in the lung. So if you already have high blood pressure, diabetes, or obesity, or all these other comorbidities, then chances of you getting those blood clots develop in your lung and then succumbing to them is something you have to watch out for. If you're healthy and you don't have anything, you won't develop to that stage. So making sure that you're healthy and your immune system is strong is paramount.
Absolutely. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in the next segment of this episode. So folks, don't go away. We'll be right back. Awesome. Great start.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I read an article that said, why is Americans dying and third world countries aren't? And it was because of hydroxychloroquine. All the other third world countries like India and Africa are using hydroxychloroquine, where we can't do that here. You can't get, I found doctors, frontline doctors, MD, where I got my hands on some in case I need it. But it could save lives. It could save lives here, but they're not using it.
Absolutely. It's bizarre. I gotta say, it's truly bizarre. I watched that video too, and in fact, what I did was that I cut that video where the frontline doctors were speaking. I cut each segment and I posted it on YouTube and all that, and YouTube took them down.
Oh, absolutely. Tuesday I did a talk with somebody that was doing a podcast. Well, I didn't know it, and we were talking about vaccines. Should you get vaccinated? And I said, no, you shouldn't. You know, this is an experimental biological agent. So then he posted it on YouTube. They pulled it down right away. It's just amazing.
I know anything that doesn't match up to what's the narrative goes down. I mean that hydroxychloroquine was extremely. I was very disturbed about it. I was extremely disturbed about it. I had so many fights with my classmates, my colleagues who are doctors and who are obviously they're towing the party line, and I'm like, come on,
Line. Yeah.
wake up, come on, for Pete's sake. We're still using it back in Nigeria. They're still using it back in Nigeria. So
Yeah.
if it was harmful, don't you think would have stopped?
Yeah, and you know what? Next year it'll be COVID-20 and then COVID-21. And you know, there's going to be no end to it. So
Oh yeah, unfortunately. All right, let's get back. So I'm going to say, well, so Dr. Harry and I are going to start talking about how to strengthen. Let me take the time down. How to strengthen the cardiovascular system. What are the principles? So we're going to start with the core principles.
okay.
The cardiovascular system. Obviously, running and walking, diet, exercise are part of it, but this is what we'll talk about. I'll say that in a little bit. And then in the next segment, we'll probably go into the black race. Or if we don't have, I really want us to treat the basic principles of cardiovascular health really, really well. If we don't have enough time for the black race, that'll be another segment. So,
Okay.
So it's 10:21 now. And this is a national TV station, by the way. I think I told you that, right? This is
Yes.
throughout Africa, and it's Africa's largest network, largest reach. So hopefully, and then of course we'll take the video and see how we can spread the word further around. All right. I hope I see some oily stuff on this thing. Okay. Are you seeing me okay? Is the quality of my video okay? Not pixelated or anything like that?
Fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, cool. Okay, so it's 10:22 now. We'll go for another 8 minutes, so 10:30. All right, folks. Welcome back, and I'm here with Dr. Harry, who is a cardiovascular specialist, and we'll be talking about what it takes to have a healthy cardiovascular system. Remember, a weak, dysfunctional cardiovascular system is one of the key things that causes COVID-19 to run rampant. What's the word now? What's the word, Dr. Harry? What's it? Run. There's a term. Okay, let me start again. To run amok. Is it run amok?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's forget that. Let's start again. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm here with Dr. Harry, and we're talking about the key things that will help strengthen your cardiovascular system so that you will not be one of the, casualties when it comes to COVID-19. COVID-19 specifically plays on those who have weak cardiovascular systems, in addition to weak immune systems. So, Dr. Harry, thanks again. Let's talk about that.
Okay, well, I would say the key, and I tell people this all the time, is to keep your immune system strong. As long as your immune system is strong, you can fight anything. Vitamin D is critical. 5,000 IUs of vitamin D every day. Vitamin C is critical. 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day will do it. Zinc, if you start getting a cold or flu or anything, symptom like that, start taking zinc, 400 milligrams a day. And then there's something called quercetin, which I recommend because quercetin acts like hydroxychloroquine in that it opens up the cell so the zinc can go into the cell. But the real secret to fighting COVID or any flu or virus is something called arginine, which is an amino acid that you find in steak and lobster and eggs, and it's a protein source. So this amino acid.
We don't have much access to steak and lobster over here, over in Africa.
So this amino acid actually breaks down to something called nitric oxide in the body. And in 1998, 3 scientists won the Nobel Prize on the discovery of what nitric oxide does in the body. And what it does is it dilates the blood vessels. So when you open up the blood vessels and dilate them, what you're doing is increasing blood flow. In fact, it increases coronary blood flow by 150%. And then when you increase blood flow, you're increasing oxygen. Oxygen is a healing source. Putting more oxygen into the cells increases that healing. But the other things that it actually does is it softens the blood vessels, which reverses arteriosclerosis. It melts plaque away, burns it away. So that reverses atherosclerosis, which can lead to a heart attack or stroke. And as well as what it does is increases the T cell and the B cell count. Now, those are your defenders for when the virus or bacteria comes into your system. They go to work, surround it, kill it, and take it away. So it's a wonderful thing, this arginine-derived nitric oxide, and it works miracles in the body, and that is the secret to fighting COVID or anything else.
So are you saying that, I'm going to talk about arginine some more, but are you saying that that amino acid which produces nitric oxide, are you saying that that acts also as an immune system booster?
Yes, absolutely. It
Tell me
increases
more.
the T cell, the B cell, as well as the NK cell, which is your natural killer cells for cancer.
And from what I've learned from you before, it's not advisable to just take L-arginine on its own.
No, you need cofactors with that. And then the secret to that is when this nitric oxide gas is created and then burns off in the body, it also is a creates free radicals. So you need to take antioxidants with the arginine. You just don't want to take arginine by itself. The other secret is it burns off very rapidly. So you take something called citrulline, which is another amino acid, and that gets that arginine to last longer in the body so that it can do more miracles.
All right, so it's part of a symphony and it needs its supporting cast, so to speak, all the other.
The cofactors, correct.
Okay, all right, let's talk about vitamin C a little bit because I'm on vitamin D. These what you're recommending are far above what would be considered safe by the medical profession in general. Of course, with vitamin C, we're concerned about kidney stones. The recommendation is, what is it, 90 milligrams per day? And you were saying 3,000 milligrams per day. Please explain that.
Well, vitamin C is, there's been a lot of research done. Dr. Linus Pauling has committed his life to studying vitamin C and how it reacts in the body. As far as kidney stones, it depends on what type of vitamin C you're using. There's all different forms of vitamin C. There's what I would recommend is rose hips, but there is vitamin C comes in sodium chloride, which is kind of like a salt. It also, but mainly people use what's the vitamin C that's most common, and that's the one that I would avoid. So rose hips or sodium chloride is probably the best form of vitamin C to get. And
sodium ascorbate.
Sodium ascorbate, that's it. Yeah, sodium ascorbate, not sodium chloride, that's salt. But yeah. Sodium ascorbate is similar to salt. You could actually sprinkle it on your food, and it's a lot safer than sodium chloride. So, but yeah, that's I use a different type of vitamin C. What is it? It's a buffered form, and it actually lasts longer in your body. But there are all different forms of vitamin C. Drinking orange juice gives you vitamin C. However, you would have to drink like a swimming pool of orange juice to get enough vitamin C to really do any good in your body. And the reason for that is because the way we've known since early 1900 that the way the farmers have done the soil, that there's no nutrition left in the soil. So that you can eat an orange in 1900 that had 100 milligrams of vitamin C. Nowadays, it has 5 milligrams of vitamin C. So it's, the food isn't the supplier that we think we're getting when we're eating fruits and vegetables, but you're not getting the nutrition that was available back in 1900 because of the way farmers have done the farming.
Right. I take a powder and I take about 2,000 milligrams at least. And I kind of like, sometimes I put it in the water bottle and I drink it for a period of time.
Well, I'm telling you, if I feel a scratchy throat or I start sneezing a lot or whatever, I get these little effervescent tablets you drop in water, and I drink that 3 times a day. That has 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, and I'll do these little lozenges that have zinc, and within 24 hours it's gone. It is totally, no, it never goes into a full-fledged flu or cold. So I'm telling you, nutrition works.
Right, absolutely. And I try to discourage people from taking the tablets as much because they have so much fillers and they have the sweetness and all those things that are in them. Or what do you have to say about that?
What tablets?
Some like many of the cheaper tablets have fillers of vitamin C. I mean,
Right, right. It's always better to get a powder because it dissolves, or liquid because it's 90% absorbed. A pill is at best 20% absorbed. A capsule is at best 40% absorbed in the body, whereas a liquid with a powder, you add water, becomes a liquid. So that gives you 90% absorption.
Okay, great. And why is vitamin C so important? Okay, looks like we are out of time for this segment. We're going to come back to it because I really, folks, I really want Dr. Harry to explain each of these components and why they're important, so you know what you're doing when you're trying to protect yourself and your family from not just COVID-19, but just living a healthy life. We're not saying you should not wear masks. We're not saying you should not do social distancing. But I tell you what, if the virus enters your body, mask is not going to get it out of you. It's your immune system, your cardiovascular system is going to get it out of you. So it's important that your body be fortified. So we will be right back.
Ascorbic acid. That's the vitamin. I couldn't think of it. I'm like, what is it? Oh, it's at the tip of my tongue. I couldn't think of it.
Yeah, I was like, sodium chloride.
Yeah, and then that, yeah, sodium ascorbate. I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh well.
So maybe one of the slides you can send our way is that, so as we're talking, they'll have this whole list of the different things that they should have. Okay, I mean, all what you're talking about. So we can have it. So, and of course the I think you mentioned the vitamin C and all that, some different kinds of vitamin C. All right. So in this next segment, I want you to explain why vitamin C is important and then why vitamin D is important. We're definitely going to have to do another segment, so take your time. All right, folks, we are back. We're talking about some of the key nutrients that you should be taking, not just now, but for the rest of your life. Some people ask me, they're like, oh, so how long do I need to take vitamin D for? And if they're a Black person, and it's usually after I've explained to Black people why they need vitamin D, and they say, well, how long? Does it mean I'll take it for the rest of my life? And I'm like, did you just hear what I said? And it's like, to me, it's like, I want to pull my hair out or strangle them. What is the problem? You put food in your mouth all the time. So there's some things that's going to zero your mind. You're going to have to zero your mind and make up your mind that this is my lifestyle for the rest of my life. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. So Dr. Harry, let's talk about vitamin C. Why is that so important?
Vitamin C?
Yeah, I mean,
one thing that vitamin C does is strengthens the inner walls of the arteries. People that get nosebleeds, or a common occurrence for sailors that used to sail across the ocean and eat nothing but pork and salt and whatever, would develop scurvy, where their blood vessels would just open up and you basically hemorrhage and bleed. And vitamin C was the cure for scurvy and the cure for a nosebleed, because it strengthens the inner walls, the endothelium, or the inner walls of the arteries, veins, and capillaries, so you don't get that hemorrhaging. So vitamin C is critical for the cardiovascular system.
In addition to that, even the air sacs, those air pockets, I understand that a lot of the damage by the virus and by the immune system to the walls of the air pockets can be mitigated by vitamin C as well, because vitamin C is also needed to strengthen those walls, not just the walls of the arteries, but also the walls of the cells and the air sacs in the lungs.
Absolutely.
So that's super important. We actually had a professor of pulmonology. He's doing some research. I don't know if you've heard about Professor Alpha Fowler, but he's doing some major research on using high dose IV vitamin C to address ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome in the lungs. and they're getting some really, really interesting results just from vitamin C. So it's definitely nothing to be sneezed at. Very important. All right, vitamin D. Yet the recommended amount, what is 600 international units, or is it 400? I know something, in my opinion, ridiculous. You are recommending 5,000 international units.
Actually, I take about 25,000 every day.
Wow.
That's a lot, huh? I went for a physical.
Breathing?
And my vitamin D level was 78. And the doctor thought it was toxic. And I said, no, cancer cannot grow when your vitamin D level gets near 80. And I'm very happy with that. So yeah, vitamin D is very inexpensive, very inexpensive. In fact, you can get it in sunlight. And there's different forms of vitamin D. There's D1, D2, D3. Now, D3 is sunlight, and that's the vitamin D you can get. It's actually from lanolin or from sheep's wool. They absorb it. Animals absorb it through their wool or their skin or whatever. So vitamin D is not toxic. You can take as much as you want. I would recommend minimum 5,000 IUs every day. Or go into this, if you go into the sunlight, you can get say 10,000 in about 10 minutes. So if it was so bad for you, then you wouldn't be able to go into the sunlight. So yeah, vitamin.
I've heard even what do we call Baywatch? What's the word for those those people who are on the sea on the beach all the time?
Lifeguard.
That's it. Lifeguards. They some can go as high as 50,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're sitting in the sun all day. You're getting a lot of vitamin D. It's totally non-toxic. There was actually a case where the pharmacist misread the prescription and gave the person, instead of 10,000 IUs, gave them 1,000,000 IUs of vitamin D. And with a week, they discovered, oh no, what are we doing? No toxicity, no side effects to taking that much. That's 1,000,000 IUs, and there was no toxicity. So yeah, vitamin D is like, it's like sunlight, it's like air, it's like water. Your body needs it.
But some physicians would still argue against that, and they would bring up cases of vitamin D toxicity, high calcium.
D1 and D2, yes, not D3. There's a difference between D1 and D2 and D3. D3 is non-toxic. D1 and D2 is, and that's the prescription that when you go, instead of going and buying cheap vitamin D3, they'll write you a prescription for 50,000 IUs, and that's D1 or D2, and you have to be careful with that.
I see. And that's the one that doctors are allowed to prescribe. So right. D3 doesn't even cause kidney stones or anything like that?
No. I mean, I'm a walking case of it. I mean, my level was 78. The average person should be around 40 or 50, and yet most people are like 10 to 20. So
yeah, and most Black people are probably even less than that, from what I understand.
Right.
And we'll be talking a little bit more about that probably in our next time you're with us, right, Doc?
Okay.
Okay, cool. So vitamin D, 5,000. And how long have you been using 25,000 international unit stock?
How long have I been doing it? Oh, since 2009.
Wow, that's like 12 years. Going on 12 years.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So he's still alive, though, folks. Now, nobody's saying you should take 25,000 international units, but 5,000 makes a lot more sense. Doc, why do they keep saying 600 international?
And I don't take 25,000 all at once. I take 10,000 in the morning with a coconut oil and 5,000 IU. So that's like 15,000 in the morning, and I take 10,000 at bedtime. So it's out of my system by the time I do the second, 10,000 units.
Got it. And that's for about 12 years. So if there were going to be any complications, we certainly should have seen them by now, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And folks, no one is saying you should take that amount, but I think 5,000 makes more sense. But do you understand why we're still talking about 600 international unit stock?
Well, it's scientists aren't nutritionists, so they I don't know where they come up with their numbers, but I know it's, I ship a lot of product to Canada, and every once in a while they will open the box and they'll see 5,000 IUs on the bottle, and they'll send the box back, because they're only allowed 500 IUs. Anything more than that, it's toxic. So I guess these people never go in the sun. They must live in caves.
Oh my God. And I mean, that's tragic because I've, ever since I learned from you and others, I've been using, and for my patients too, and we'll talk about sickle cell disease probably in our next segment, but we found out that simply vitamin D, especially in the younger age groups, could help a lot when it comes to their symptoms and even helping them live normal lives. I mean, these are kids who, under normal circumstances, would be dead by the age of 5. And so
Right.
we good results there. And then even for my adults, like I said, we'll talk about that in the next segment. But even for my adult patients, I can't tell you how many patients have had improved blood pressure readings. In addition to using their medications, of course, we're not saying that you should stop one for the other. We're saying that you need to strengthen. Drugs don't reverse damage. Drugs can delay damage, and they can delay damage, but at best, but they won't reverse it. What you need are the nutrients or the building blocks for to repair damage to your blood vessels, that damage to your heart. And what we know about vitamin D is that vitamin D controls over 10% of all the genes, right, in the human body. So including the genes for the skeleton, including the genes in the brain, genes for muscular development, genes for hormones. As a matter of fact, a lot of my patients who have had back pain, they wake up with back pain and lower back pain, especially in the mornings when they start using vitamin D, that back pain disappeared. A lot of my patients who are always having malaria, for instance, malaria every single month. And then simply by giving them vitamin D, it also helps to strengthen the immune system. So it has a lot to be said for it. But in the final analysis, if you're dealing with a cardiovascular disease, if you have heart disease, whatever it is, in addition to taking your medication that's prescribed by your doctor, you need to take a complex. And this is really the genius of what Dr. Harry does. A complex of, he's mentioned some of them, it's going to be on the slide in front of you, but it's never one thing that's going to fix your health. He's talked about Arginine, which is, well, in my opinion, the kingpin. He's talked about vitamin D and vitamin C. These all work together in a symphony. Your heart and blood vessels have several different needs, so the nutrients all have to work together really, really well. So Dr. Harry will be back in about a week or so from now to talk more about some of what he's doing and how it can be of benefit to you in Africa and Nigeria and beyond, so to speak. But Doc, do you have any final words for us today?
No, it's for Western medicine, and pretty much, is taught for every ill there's a pill. But that pill doesn't treat the problem, it treats the symptom. So yes, it can bring down the numbers, blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, can treat that number, but it's not treating the problem. And every pill is based on something that God put here on the planet that they take. Like, I'll give you an example, white willow bark. They take it in that white willow bark, break it down chemically, and then make a synthetic product known as aspirin and sell it to people. And Bayer became famous and made billions when white willow bark was all you needed. And white willow bark is non-toxic. Aspirin is very toxic, can cause cataracts, can cause ulcers in your stomach. 16,000 people in America die every year from aspirin. So it's very toxic. It's a chemical, it's a poison. Totally not what God intended. He wanted us to get our health from what he put here on the planet, which is in either a bark or a plant or a flower or a leaf or something like that. So, we have to think smart and really rely upon what God put here and not what our Western medicine is giving us. That really, yes, it'll bring that number down, but it is not giving you longevity. And you can have longevity, you can have a long healthy life if you just apply knowledge, what you're learning here, and in the future.
Fantastic. Well said, Doc. Very well said, folks. The combination of the two will get you a long way, but most important is you got to give your body what it needs to function. So with that said, thank you so much, Dr. Harry, for being on the show. We're looking forward to having you next time. God bless. And folks, those of you who are watching this, remember you can go to our website or the NTA website and catch reruns of these videos. You can catch this live as well. So until then, until we see you again, God bless, stay strong, stay healthy. See you soon. Stay safe.